What's up, guys? I'm Pete Mundo. We're HeartlandCollegeSports.com. We are on YouTube Live. We're rolling through it right now on a Sunday as we recap Week 7 in the Big 12 Conference. We normally go Facebook Live, throw it on YouTube, but having some issues on Facebook Live. So we're rolling on the YouTube side of things, and we appreciate you guys joining us here after a great Week 7 in the Big 12 Conference. I'm going to go 2 minutes on every game. All right. And by the way, if you're catching this on YouTube, you should also get us on the podcast as well, doing a lot of more work on the podcast right now than we are on the video side of things. So let's go in order, and let's start off with Oklahoma State taking on Texas. All right, that was a great game, unless you're a Texas fan, because your team blew it for a second straight week. 2 straight weeks, and the Texas Longhorns have given up huge double-digit leads. Terrible job by the Longhorns. That's really an indictment on the coaching staff and the players being complacent, for lack of a better word. I mean, that's the only way to look at it. And also the coaching staff not doing a good job by looking at this team and making in-game adjustments, which their opponents clearly are making. That is not happening for the Texas Longhorns right now. And it's not a good scene that they're not making these adjustments. These losses to Oklahoma and Oklahoma State are tough to swallow. And now you've got a couple of games coming up if you're Texas, where you say to yourself, okay, Baylor, Iowa State, if we don't at least split those, that's going to be a bad look for the Longhorns. Now, for Oklahoma State, this is incredible what Mike Gundy is doing with a defense led by Jim Knowles and a running game led by Jaylen Warren. Another, nearly 200-yard game on the ground for Jaylen Warren. This dude is, I think, better than Chuba Hubbard, because he can run between the tackles. He can grind it. He does everything you want on that front. And I love watching Chuba Hubbard week in, week out. So he's been a lot of fun to watch here these last several weeks, frankly. And for Oklahoma State, you've got to say, hey, why not us? Why can't this team win the Big 12? They can. And they should feel like they're a Big 12 favorite right now because they're playing that well. I know the Sooners are obviously 6-time champs, but defense travels. We saw that yesterday. Mike Gundy relied on his defense to help him win this game, and that's exactly what they did. So kudos to Mike Gundy and the Oklahoma State Cowboys, who are a lot of fun to watch right now. It's just different. And they better pay Jim Knowles, by the way. They better pay Jim Knowles, because if not, this dude's going to be gone as defensive coordinator, and you can't afford to lose him. Next up, Baylor and BYU. Baylor, of course, winning this game over BYU on Saturday. Kind of a look to the future, I guess you would say, in the Big 12 Conference and what's to come. And what's to come is going to be a lot of fun. But for right now, Baylor fans should be on cloud 9 with where this team is. From 2-7 last year to now just 1 loss as we cross the halfway mark, and a team that's going to be competing for the Big 12 title in the month of November. You've got to pinch yourself if you're a Baylor fan with how this thing has gone down. I mean, you have got to be pinching yourself. How do you not? This is such a fun season for those fans in Waco, coming off a tough year last year, 2 years removed from a Big 12 championship, not knowing, what Dave Aranda is, if he can be that guy, if you're going to be longing for the days of Matt Rule. But nope, they got it done. It was awesome. And by the way, BYU's good. But what this game also proved to me is that the Pac-12 is terrible. And BYU was steamrolling Pac-12 teams. Now they come and they play a legitimate Big 12 team, and, it wasn't really all that close. So BYU dominated that game start to finish, and, Baylor dominated that game start to finish, and now it's a situation where Baylor's going to feel really good about its position as they go down the home stretch of the Big 12 season, as they should. Their fan base should feel like they can win this league this year. They're efficient on both sides of the ball. Yes, the pass defense does need to improve for the Baylor Bears, but overall, very good spot for Baylor to be in moving forward. Very good spot. Next up, Texas Tech and Kansas. So the first thing you've got to say is at least Matt Wells beat Kansas convincingly. He needed that one desperately. All right. He needed that one desperately because he lost to Kansas 2 years ago and he beat them by a field goal last year. That is a bad job by Matt Wells. So he needed just a blowout of Kansas, and he got one. And that's kind of what you expect, obviously, but he needed that because he hadn't done it yet. Now, for Texas Tech, I mean, is Henry Columbia going to be a guy that's going to take it to the promised land? No, but, Texas Tech is a win away from being bowl eligible, which is a step in the right direction for Matt Wells, considering he doesn't have a starting quarterback. So that's how you got to look at this for Matt Wells. I know fans are anxious and they're antsy, and Tech fans want to kind of get out of that malaise that this program has been in for too long. But Matt Wells is not a guy, unless the wheels totally fall off. I don't see Matt Wells being a guy that's going to be on the hot seat or anything of that nature at this point in time. For Kansas, I mean, I don't think Jason Bean's your answer at quarterback. Like, at this point, I'd like to see Jalon Daniels from last year, who played decent as a true freshman last season. Like, Jason Bean is who he is. Is he a guy that's going to win you or even kind of get the ball rolling in the right direction? If you're a KU football fan, I don't see how. I don't. I'd love to be wrong about it, but I don't see how Jason Bean is going to be that guy. And Lance Leipold knows he's got a major uphill battle here, but he's also got to figure out his quarterback, and he might as well use the next few weeks to try to, test out some of these other guys. He's got some true freshmen on the roster who, are 3-star prospects, see what they're all about, and get the ball rolling to 2022. That's what it's all about for KU football right now. Then we go to the night games. Farmageddon, Iowa State taking care of Kansas State. First win in Manhattan since 2004. So it's October. You know what that means? That means that Iowa State plays its best football. Matt Campbell is 15-2 in the month of October, going back to 2017. Now, their two losses are against none other than Oklahoma State, who they're playing next weekend. So that's going to be awesome. It's going to be such a great game. But put that aside, and you know what? Iowa State's finally getting better. They can play for a Big 12 championship. They have potential to win a Big 12 title. Don't get me wrong. They have that potential. It's just frustrating because it could have been even more. And, September never treats them well. Now, the Iowa-Baylor losses aren't bad losses, but they're bad losses based on what the expectations were coming into the season for the Iowa State Cyclones. So that's the main problem right now. All right. That's the issue that's, surrounded this team for the last couple of weeks. Great. It's October. You're winning games, but you've got 2 losses already. It's problematic if you wanted to possibly have that dream season and play for a Big 12 championship. For Kansas State, a lot of frustrated fans right now, and I get it, but nothing is changing. You're going to have Chris Kleiman there. If you want to talk about the coaching staff, we can have that conversation. But there are no major changes coming to Kansas State football. So let's figure out, what does Chris Kleiman need to do? Recruit better, number one. Get his coordinators on the same page. And also, I mean, the injury bug has bit him. Skylar Thompson last year. You've got the issue with Massey at defensive end this season. Duke at linebacker. That's proven to be a big loss. And there's not the depth that you'd like to see in this program right now at those kind of positions or at any position. And that has cost them. And it's been a problem for Kansas State. But, this team should get to a bowl game. And if they do that, then, certainly Chris Kleiman's not going to go anywhere. But you want to see that trajectory get better for Kansas State football. And we'll see if that can happen here going forward. But you can be pissed, but just know there's no major change coming. Then we get to Oklahoma